Hello everybody and welcome to the Showcast, where we dive into candid conversations with film creatives and professionals worldwide. The series is brought to you by The Film Verdict and hosted by yours truly, Matt Micucci. And this episode was recorded live at the 2024 edition of Meeting Point Vilnius in Lithuania. Now, recently I had the pleasure of speaking with Amanda Blumenthal, a trailblazer in the field of intimacy coordination, and you can check out that conversation on the TFV network if you haven't done so already. Therefore, today's episode is quite an apt follow-up, as we'll talk about Slow, an award-winning Lithuanian drama that portrays the intimacy and closeness of a stereotype-defying relationship, as well as a sincere and rare representation of asexuality on screen. And we'll be speaking about it with its lead actress, Greta Grinevičiūtė, who shares insights into the film's theme and her personal connection with story and character. But in this conversation, we'll also venture beyond this particular film to talk about a wide range of topics, as Greta talks about her journey, her idiosyncratic approach to acting, some of the things that drive and inspire her, and so much more. So fire up an Audio Teeny and listen to the audio waves as they fly through the air. This is the Showcast. Hello, Greta. Welcome to the Showcast. Actually, this is my first time in Lithuania, so maybe you should be welcoming me. Are you from, where are you from in Lithuania? Are you from Vilnius?
No, I'm not from Vilnius. I'm from a very small town by the sea. It's called Palanga. I'm a sea girl.
You're a sea girl. Well, I'm a sea guy myself. I was born in a sea town and I grew up in another sea town in two different countries. I was born in Italy, raised in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
Interesting to meet another sea person.
Yeah.
Are you a good swimmer?
No, I'm not a very good swimmer. I do some swimming classes in the swimming pool.
Okay.
And once I almost drowned in the sea. The whirlpool caught me in, but I was lucky that my friends were close by, so they took me out.
Isn't it interesting?
I'm not a good swimmer.
Well, isn't it interesting? I'm also not a good swimmer, and I was basically born on the sea, but I never, it's interesting how that is. I'm still drawn to water, though. I like water as an element.
Me too, as well. I'm extremely drawn to water, and I love the element of water. I love how it feels, how it feels on me. But I think the sea maybe is not the perfect water to learn to swim in. Maybe lakes are better.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah. Well, after all this water talk, we're both drawn to water, but this is the first time we talk. And one of the ways that I like to break the proverbial ice, see what I did there, water ice, is I like to ask the person I speak with to share a memory with me from early life or childhood of a moment when they distinctly remember discovering cinema, awakening to its beauty and power. And do you remember whether that was a moment when also you realized I would like to maybe do something with cinema eventually?
I don't know if this memory is awakening that draw me to the cinema world, but it definitely is a memory that the first time I remember understanding, the screen and what's happening. It's a little bit funny story. I was maybe around 5 years old, and in Lithuania, telenovelas from Spain were a huge thing.
Okay.
So I grew up always hearing Spanish words around me and, bruja and so on.
Right.
And I was watching one of telenovelas with my aunt, and a couple was just about to kiss.
Right.
And I was watching extremely intently to that moment. Maybe, I don't know why. Maybe because of the chemistry those two actors had. And then my aunt asked, Greta, why you are watching so intently? Are you waiting for them to kiss? And I answered her, and you are waiting until they take off their shirts? So this was, I think, the first memory that I remember about the screen. But others, we used to have a show that was called Good Night Kids, where they showed a lot of old cinema for kids. And it was very interesting for me. I loved the stories of fairy tales, how they constructed for kids, and old fairy tales, old myths, and a lot of sea as well. There was involved. It was really somehow magical for me.
That's interesting. And was it always acting that kind of you were drawn to?
To tell the truth, acting, yes, always was something that I really wanted to execute myself. So I was attending a lot of drama, theater,
From an early age?
From early age.
Okay.
But for me, in theater, something was lacking. For me, it was too much psychological and too much focused on the mind. Too much mind work. And for me, I felt that I really wanted somehow body to be more interacted into acting, into being. And for me, body is a huge medium for understanding the world. I really don't like dualistic thinking, where we separate the body from the mind. And that's how I got extremely interested in contemporary dance.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's a medium that connects everything, not only the body, not only the acting and fulfilling the characters, but it connects like everything. And then I found contemporary dance and I understood that I want to be in contemporary dance. And while being in contemporary dance, a lot of people used to say, oh, you should do, acting and stuff like that. So for me, always acting and moving was interconnected.
What do you mean by contemporary dance? What is contemporary dance?
Contemporary dance is a dance form that comes from modern dance, develops from modern dance. And contemporary dance more focuses on connecting different art forms and has distinct dancing techniques where they evaluate different bodies, where they evaluate emotional expression, conceptualism. There are a lot of different ways to approach contemporary dance.
Right. So it's almost like thinking outside the box.
Yes.
Right? When it comes to dance.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find traditional theater a little too constricting? Like it was forcing you to act a certain way and you wanted to escape that a little bit?
In a way, yes. But I think, of course, theater as well have a lot of different forms and it depends on the creator, on their vision. But for me, I felt like it's lacking something.
Okay. Of course, contemporary dance is an important part of Slow, a film that, we'll be talking about soon. And, I did not know that you actually practiced this before the film. And it was an important thing to you in your artistic development. But because we're talking about theater, another very important component in both cinema and theater, but I feel like in theater it's even more direct, is the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your relationship with the audience? Do you look for a certain energy from them, an interaction, or do you try to block them out? What is that like?
I think it's impossible to block out the audience.
Okay.
Even if you are focused on blocking out and focused on creating your own world, like with the fourth wall, but still the energy in the room, it really affects the way you play, the way you act on stage. And early on when I realized that, I understood that for me, the energy, the feeling and emotional state and being state that audience brings is crucial for performance. And I think for this in the cinema, on the cinema set, for example, for me, it becomes as well a connection between cameraman, between the partner and you, but mostly about the connection between you and cameraman.
Right. For
me, it's like the medium to the audience. So the feeling, how you feel with them, it's very important, I think, playing the role.
This is a very simple and broad question, but I'm curious to know how you will answer it. What's the main difference for you in your personal experience in, acting in the theater, between acting in a theater and acting in for cinema or for, that type of environment? It could be for television, other medium, but like there's always, I guess, a lack of audience, or at least an audience that is not connected to an actual role within a film set.
For me, probably it is, of course, really depends on the creation itself. Different creations requires different skill sets. But on cinema set, I feel everything is, the emotion, the scale is a little bit more compact rather than on stage, especially on the big stage where there's a lot of audience. You have to give a little bit more to enhance the levels of of the movement, of the feeling. It is a little bit elevated, while on the set, it's everything, the smallest details are seen and are felt as well. So, of course, still, it very depends on the creation itself.
I asked you about your rapport with the audience. What about the camera? How do you feel? Have you always felt comfortable in front of a camera, or was it something that you had to overcome? I know for myself, I'm not necessarily very comfortable in front of a camera, for example. But what about you? Like, some people have trouble with it.
It might maybe sound a little bit strange, but for me, I don't feel camera as something alien body. It's very... I don't feel the difference. If there is camera or if there is no camera, for me, it doesn't make a difference, actually. Especially if the cameraman that you're working... Because for me, cameraman and camera is like one body. I don't distinct them.
Right.
So if I have a good relationship with that person, then for me, it's very comfortable. The same way as, being on stage or being in the room now with you. When we get to know a little bit each other, then, it's more easier to be and to talk and to share your thoughts.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the same with the camera. I don't feel strange. But actually, when someone is taking picture of me, especially if, a relative or a close friend, then I feel somehow how to pose,
Why is that? Why?
I really don't know.
I feel like I can totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel very strange, to capture that moment. But while you are capturing that moment is already past and strange for me.
You're right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I understand that as well. Well, everything we've talked about so far provides excellent context for Slow, which is a film that I would love to talk about. I'd heard so much about this film. It's been viewed by so many people and I finally got a chance to see it. It's a great film. It talks about some very profound aspects of human nature, right? But I want to know from you about first encountering this project and what your reaction to it was, just about the genesis of this project as far as you were concerned.
Mm-hmm. So I knew director Maria Kaftaradze from her first feature film, Summer Survivors, but I never knew her very personally, and I always wanted to work with her. When we met, she saw me somewhere on stage or something, and then after some time, she started to talk that she's writing a script and blah, 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 and maybe you would like to read it. And oh no, then she did the casting. We read one scene, and she asked me straight away, do you want to be in it? I said, are you like a little bit stupid? Maybe you need to cast more people. Don't be so, close. She said, no, I want you to be in it. Are you okay with that? I said, of course. And then I read the whole script. I was in Portugal in some dance performance. And I remember sitting in the traffic and reading the script. I thought I will read, a few pages and then I will go on when I come back home.
Yeah.
But I read in one sit and I was sobbing.
Yeah.
Even now I get emotional because for me, how it was written, the dialogues and the whole feel Maria created was so familiar, even though it was not familiar,
Yeah.
Even though I didn't experience that, what was written, but the general feeling was so comfortable. And I was very lucky.
Was there parts of the script that particularly got to you? Like, for example, when I watched the film, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this, but like, I can't remember the last time I saw a film. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, first of all. But there's a moment when you and the character you play and her boyfriend are lying beside each other, kind of crying in each other's eyes almost. And I'm like, wow, I don't remember a film that takes its time to show that. And yet, it hasn't happened a lot in my life, but it has happened. Mm-hmm. So that kind of was a scene that kind of got to me. But like, I'm just curious from your perspective, whether there were specific moments in the script that you felt like, wow, this is touching me in a very profound way.
I think that this communication was maybe the main discommunication and communication at the same time between those two characters that struck me really deeply, and understanding that love is not enough. Sometimes just love is not enough. And we are hearing a lot of, if you love, then you go through and everything will be okay. But to understand that sometimes it's not the case. You can love the person, but still you can have a lot of struggles that you cannot go through.
Yeah.
And for me, how those characters were written and those very particular small moments when they look at each other or when she touches him very gently, when they stroke each other. For me, somehow it was the most compelling part of the script, not the ones where they fight or not the ones where, some action happens, but more those just the state of being of them.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that people talk about when it comes to this film is just how real it feels when those moments, are seen, by a viewer. But it must have been, what was it difficult to kind of achieve that sense of comfort in trying to, represent a certain level of intimacy that is shared between the two characters?
Of course, it's not easy to meet someone that you don't know and then to form relationship on screen that it looks very close and familiar. But of course, we didn't know how we do that.
Yeah.
Because I think it was the director's eye that she saw that we fit on screen together as a couple. And
how did she see that, do you feel?
I think it was through the casting. We casted some guys because she casted me, and then we started casting the other main character. And I think cast us. The other lead was maybe third that we casted together. And after that casting, we went with Maria to drink some coffee, and she said, "I think this is it." And
did you feel the same way?
No.
No. That's interesting.
No, it didn't. For me, it was like, I feel comfortable. I feel okay. But, with almost everyone, I can feel comfortable and okay. It's part of my, job. But she said, this is it. I think I feel. What do you feel?
When did you feel that it could work?
I think when we started rehearsing.
Okay.
Because we are really different in terms of how we work and how we are as people. But I understood that he's an extremely great partner. He makes everyone feel comfortable around him. And I tried to do the same. And I realized that, I feel comfortable around this person. So it means it might work. But actually, I wasn't even thinking about it will work or it will not. I tried not to put that thought on myself. I tried to do what I have to do and then to leave that job, it will work or not, in director's hand. Because I don't like to overpower and, to think that I know better than someone else. Because I think this is a danger when you try to, in a way, manipulate the course through because you feel that way or because you think it's better, but
But your character seems so almost inspired by you, by your essence, with the contemporary dance and some of the things that you talked about. It's easy to do that, right? It's easy to overstep your boundaries. Because at the end of the day, yes, filmmaking, like most art forms, is a collaboration, but it's so tempting also to be like, I don't think this was the right thing to do, you know? So when you read that script initially, how much did it end up changing the final work? Because it seems like it would have changed quite a bit.
It changed a lot because I read the third version, I think, of the script and we filmed 16th.
Oh, right. Okay. So that's only the script alone. Okay. Interesting.
Yes. And it was always changing. And Maria is very precise about the dialogues, all the, phrases and the phrasing. Everything is really rehearsed. We had, of course, some parts of improvisation, but there were small parts. The big picture was all scripted and executed by us.
It's funny, like phrasing is such an important part, but like there's so much silence in this film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that difficult to like not say anything and still kind of, but you're still trying to convey an emotion and the importance of a moment?
Yeah, I think we are always tempted to fill silences with words because silences makes us uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But for me, as I really appreciate the medium of the body, for me, talking through it and with it is a huge part of my personal life. And I think in this film, it was very necessary as well. Not when you feel uncomfortable, not try to, fill something with saying, with words.
Yeah. So how familiar, if you were familiar in any way with asexuality, were you? Or asexuality?
I knew the term, but it was alien to me. I never encountered it. I didn't understand it. So it was far away from my bubble, that I lived in. And I understood how much underestimated this orientation, sexual orientation is.
And underrepresented.
And underrepresented.
I can't think of any other films, especially in recent times, that have actually told stories that deal with it.
Yes, and for me, it was a huge alert when we went, I think, around the Lithuania presenting the film already, and one woman commented and said that, if a sexual character would have been woman, then a man would got the way how to get to her.
Yeah, that's true.
Taken, and for me, it blew my mind. And she said, even sexuality is not a thing, And I understood, wow, we still don't get a lot of people and we still don't appreciate the differences that there are out there. And for me, it was understanding that we need this kind of films.
Yeah. Yeah, like not being interested in sexuality, but still longing for closeness to somebody. Mm-hmm. Intimacy, love, not like friendship, like intimacy in a relationship type of way. And I like that one of the things that, your character says at some point is like, well, what would you like us to be? And she says, I want us to be normal, just the two of us, But it is a really complicated thing. Nevertheless, the person who came up to you said something that's very interesting, because I do feel that, man, wouldn't the film be so much different if it was the woman in the film who had been asexual? Because in a way, speaking from the experience of representing love, romance, and even sexuality in cinema, it is true that possibly the narrative would have seen the man try to tame or dominate the woman's sexuality and her being converted in a way. Yeah, because let's face it, that's cinema. That's the history of cinema. Yes. Most of it has been represented that way.
Yes, I completely agree.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I completely agree. And the male gaze on women, how they are represented and still are in many ways in the cinema field is very from one perspective, from one point of view. And I think it was very clever of Maria to change this dynamics because we still are not so comfortable around women who accept their sexuality and who understand what they want and how they want and their needs. And we don't feel comfortable around men who as well are not expressing their sexuality and they are not playing according the main role of man, main sexual role, a sexual predator in a way,
Yeah.
We still don't feel that is...
Why do you think that is? I mean, it's 2024, for goodness sake.
For goodness sake, it's 2024, right? Yeah.
What do you think is the most frustrating thing for you when it comes to representation of intimacy and sexuality in movies?
I don't know if you will understand me, but I feel that somehow we have some kind of codes formulated around men and women behavior around themselves and around their relationships, how they should be. And in this era of Instagram and TikTok with Instagram philosophy, we get a lot of hints how everything should go, how everything should be perceived. And I don't think that it really makes good favor for relationships and representations. No, I'm talking now a little bit, I got lost. But I feel that we are living somehow through some kind of codes that they are still very present. Laura Mulvey wrote, some time ago about the male gaze, about scopophilia and about voyeurism. And I think it's still ongoing, especially in the conventional cinema, how relationships are portrayed. And then because we grow up with this image, then it's very hard to change it, to perceive it from the other side, to understand what you really want, how you want to form a relationship, because we are used to those images, how women should look and how they should act. Still, they're very present, and about the men and what role they should take in the relationship. And we don't challenge them. We feel challenged if someone shows different perspective. It usually shakes us because we feel uncomfortable, because we used to see happily ever after, or we used to see, women serving men and men fighting for women.
Yeah. Well, I come from Ireland. There was a referendum recently that could not be understood by people because of that, because I think, people don't understand while they're out fighting in the street for certain human rights, then when they're given the opportunity to make a change, in this case, it was to change the wording of a 1930 constitutional thing that basically said women's places in their homes. Yeah, this Instagram philosophy that you're referring to in Laura Mulvey, it's still, it's almost making it more difficult to understand how we can change things, right?
And I think as well, for example, here in Lithuania, we are fighting that the Istanbul Convention would certify it. And in this session, the government decided not to even, deliberate on it. And I really cannot, and the popular opinion is that, there's no violence against women. We don't need that to be ratified. And I think this is so revealing how we see the world. Oh, nothing bad is happening, but we are not even willing to, if it's not, happening, the violence against. So why it's the harm to ratify it? Why it's the harm to make that legit thing?
Yeah. Greta, this is such a fascinating conversation. I almost don't want to end, but I want to be respectful of your time. Let's switch the topics a little bit because, I want to know, this is obviously a great project that you worked on, and it sounds like it was amazing experience for you, right?
That's true.
When you receive like a project, what's the one thing, that's talking about you as an actor, what's the thing that turns you off a project? Like something that if you see it on the script or whatever, you're like, I don't want to do this. I'm not doing this. I'm generalizing, of course, but it's also just a bit of fun. But it also reflects, things that maybe other people feel that, that are into acting and they might be able to understand.
Shallowness, maybe when you feel that everything is on the surface and you don't get anything neither from the script, you don't understand why it's needed to be out in the world. But usually it more depends on the people that creates the project around, because I believe that some ideas, if they are formulated by genuine people that don't want to control everything, then it has all the ideas have potential to flourish. But I feel that if the creative team are extremely controlling and very, in a way, radical, then I start to get creeps.
Creeps, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And I feel that about almost everything. For me, very extremely reactive people give me alert button, that they react on something very quickly or have extremely, direct and not flexible opinions about something. I feel that this is a huge red flag, that then you cannot go into conversation, you cannot understand each other well, and that turns me off.
Yeah. Do you meditate?
I do walking meditation.
Well, what's that? Is that an actual type of meditation?
For me, yes. I do every morning I do a silent walk with my dog.
Oh, okay.
It's for an hour and a half, and it's the way of my meditation. And I do practice meditating before I go to bed.
Sleep well at night?
I do.
And I got to figure out how to do that. This has been amazing. So I like to end my conversations with, film creatives and artists, because I'm a cinephile. I love to promote, cinema, but also film culture, and also just, again, find out more about the people I speak with. By asking the people I speak with to kind of share a film with me that you feel like right now is impacting your life in particular. This is not something that that you watched as a spectator. And that you feel like recommending, or that you would right now at this moment in time take with you on a desert island?
I always escape to Dogtooth.
Dogtooth?
Mm-hmm.
You escape to it?
Yeah. For me, it's like some kind of sanctuary. I really love that movie.
Yeah.
I love how director created the world. Very isolated world. And it always reminds me how sometimes to be isolated is not the best answer.
Gotcha.
And especially with what is happening in the world now, I think we cannot have luxury to be isolated. And we don't have luxury to feel that wars that are happening now that are not impacting us, because they are. And we need to take out our tooth to be brave.
Do you feel empathy? Like, are you an empathetic person?
I think so, yes.
Do you sometimes feel that the weight of being an empathetic person, like it's tough, because you can't help but put yourself in someone else's shoes?
Yeah, it's hard. And sometimes I feel that I'm even appropriating in a way, others people pain that they are really going through. And I feel bad that I feel bad that they feel bad,
Wow.
Because I feel it's very, how to say...
it's too much. It's a never-ending cycle.
It's in a way ego
Does acting help? Acting or even dancing help with that? Like, get rid of some of that and transform that into something else.
Definitely.
Because I was thinking, again, this conversation is never going to end. While I was watching Slow, I was thinking that, if they could only find a way to channel their sexuality into not a sexual act, but something else. Because I once read David Cronenberg, the great filmmaker David Cronenberg, say, if we didn't have sexual organs, something like, I'm paraphrasing, if we didn't have sexual organs, we would figure out another way to do something with our sexual energy. We would probably be more artistic, create things all the time, or just do something else, or we could all just destroy each other. So does acting and, dancing and any other artistic endeavor give you a way to channel all of that, all of those emotions that are building up?
Definitely. The creative world for me is that channel world, as well as sanctuary, where I escape to when I cannot overbear my own emotions or someone else's emotions. It really helps me to deal. It's a way of dealing.
Brilliant. Greta, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. I think it was nice.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this new episode of the Showcast. We're keeping up a regular schedule of candid conversations from the world of film as of late, and I hope you've been able to dig some insights from our wonderful guests. We've got more excellent conversations recorded live from Meeting Point Vilnius coming your way, so make sure to stay tuned over the coming days for those ones. You'll find them at the TFV network, which is currently available on all major streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and many more. In the meantime, from The Film Verdict, this is Matt Micucci signing off. See you soon.